Most of the worst things I've ever done have been performed when I believed I was doing the right thing. I picketed hospitals where abortions were performed and called the procedure murder. I used to lecture new employees at a cafe that I managed about how the only things that mattered in life were money and power. Circumstances beyond my control have been considered evil. More than one person has thought my sexual orientation is a transgression, like the neighbor who called me an abomination to God, or the landlady who said I should go somewhere I would be accepted. But in the United States, the greatest offense I have committed is that of being poor. I know bringing up money is impolite, and that no matter what tone I take, I'll sound to some like a bitter, ranting pauper. Some of what I say will be dismissed as jealousy of the rich, or me making excuses for myself. I've been told I don't work hard when I had a morning job, an evening job, and a weekend job all at once. And I've been told it's impossible for me to have stress in my life when I wasn't sure if I would make rent, because I don't know what it was like to handle millions of dollars. That's real stress. I've had a job and a home but no money, and I've had money and a home but no job. But I want to focus on the second time I had money but no job and no home sometime in the early 2000s. I wasn't crashing on the couch of a friend homeless. I was fighting another man for the warm spot behind the pizzeria dumpster in the winter homeless. I did have a few $100s that I was hiding in the toe of one of my shoes, but this was all the money I had, and I didn't know when I would ever get more. I didn't want to spend any of it on a hotel or a room without a plan, because I didn't want to risk running out of money completely. I skipped meals, wore cheap clothes, and slept on the street until I couldn't. When that man attacked me near that dumpster, I cried out to God that I would crawl on my hands and knees to my parents' house 500 miles away if he would just get me out of that situation. Long story short, I stopped having faith in the efficacy of prayer that night. This was kind of a shame because I spent the next night at a homeless shelter that had mandatory chapel services as a condition for being allowed to stay there. The speakers changed each night, with those who chastised us for having bad priorities. One kept telling us we can't be hanging around with Pookie and Ray Ray all night, alternating with others who encouraged us to vote for the Constitution Party, a political party whose platform includes making pornography illegal and which the Southern Poverty Law Center designates a patriot group. One night, either out of boredom, malice, or genuine curiosity, it's honestly hard to tell because it was a very confusing time for me, I asked one of the preachers his thoughts on evolution. He answered, "All I know is what I read in the Bible, and the Bible says the earth was created in 6 days." Another one of these preachers encouraged me to spend $35 on a King James Version as the only book I'd ever need. I stopped having conversations with them after that. The shelter would let us stay for no more than 5 nights in a row, and then we had to find other accommodations. On my 5th day, I went to a Kinko's, mocked up a fake ID for myself with a different name, and got 5 more nights. The routine of the place was pretty simple. Every morning we had to be up and out by a certain time, and could not come back until that evening. Once we came back, we couldn't leave, and if we came back too late, we couldn't stay. Evenings consisted of the chapel services, showers, then lights out. What little free time existed between getting up and being forced to leave, and arriving or returning, and the start of chapel, was pretty boring. There was a common area with one television tuned to a local news station, and a small library made up of mostly old devotionals, and inexplicably, a copy of Dude, Where's My Country by Michael Moore that I got about 2 chapters into before my 10 days were up. One of the other men said I should be grateful that I was staying there, because at the other shelter in that area, his words, "They'll steal the shoes off your feet in the middle of the night." Another guy was so disturbed by how much nudity was on display during the shower time that he described the place as worse than prison, asked me if he could borrow $20, and left early. I never saw nor heard from him again. When it came time for me to leave, Another man asked me, "What's going on with you and the Lord?" There was no easy way to answer that question, so I shrugged and walked away. I went to a local college campus and found a flyer advertising a spare room on a community bulletin board. I went to the address, showed all of the cash I had to my name, put down a security deposit, and did not go back to the shelter. I spent most of the money I had left on 2 burner phones. I gave out one number to every place I could get my foot in the door for a job. I gave the second phone and $50 to a sex worker whom I asked to pose as my secretary. If anyone called, she was to say I wasn't in and they should try my direct line. 1 week later, I had a job. I don't like to talk about my time as an unhoused person, not out of any embarrassment, but because I don't want to become a kind of conservative talking point. I don't want anyone asking, if that guy stopped being homeless, why can't everyone else? This is reductive, harmful, and stupid. I was resourceful and more than a little lucky. And if I were anyone other than a straight-passing white man, I would not have gotten a home or a job so easily. Mine isn't an inspirational story, and certainly isn't aspirational. The lies I told might be my biggest sins of those I've mentioned tonight, but they're part of what helped me get back on my feet. In the meantime, people starve to death in the richest country on earth, and we have more empty homes than homeless people. We routinely criminalize poverty, and that is far worse than any of my transgressions. Thank you.